Welcome in, everyone, to Barely Educated. We are, at long last, at the season start. We are here mostly to preview Bears Titans. And to be honest with you, I find it a little bit of a weird matchup, but we'll get there. Before we get there, though, there are a few things I wanted to clean up. We're going to talk about the last Hard Knocks episode. We've got a Teichler hot take
Mhm.
and a couple meatball moments. So hang in there if you're looking for the preview. It's coming in a few minutes. Mark, as always, joined by Chris. Chris, the NFL is back, buddy. I
Oh,
don't even think I
glory.
need to ask, but how are you?
Doing good. It was so much fun to be watching a game last night, a real game, and back in the chat watching the game with you and cousin Nate and buddy Brian and former student Tim. There, they all get a shout out there.
All the
But
falsettos. Look at that.
that was good stuff. Yeah, football's back.
He's on fire, everyone.
Mm-mm-mm. Yes,
And we get another game tonight as we
yes,
record
we
this,
do.
as always, basically at this point on a Friday. We get another game tonight. So, funny story-ish. My wife was like, "Hey, do we want to go to the homecoming game for the school my kids will eventually attend? They're 6, 8, and 10 Friday night." And I was like, "Normally, yes, but I want to hate watch the Packers Eagles."
That's right.
She's like, "Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll just take him." So we're such a football family that while I'm watching the NFL game, there's a chance my wife takes the other three to a high school game.
Nice.
And then Avery, our oldest, who's 10, who really definitely fully leans in on the watch football with dad stuff,
Oh
is like,
yeah.
I don't know which one I want to do. And I'm like, that's adorable. You want to hate watch the Packers with me? I'm doing something right, Chris. Sometimes as a parent, you wonder. No. And then I was
Yes.
like, go to the homecoming, all the pageantry. You will have way more fun with that. And I might go and just like have the game on my phone too.
Yeah,
So
sure,
just before anyone
sure.
accuses me of being a terrible person. But I just thought it was funny that my sweet 10-year-old is like trying to debate which one she'll have more fun at. And it's like the homecoming.
Oh, that's
So,
great. Well done. Bravo,
yeah.
sir. I tip my
So
cap.
anyway. All right. What's the Teichler hot take
All
this
right.
week?
Well, we're on our third hopeful franchise quarterback of the last 5, 6 years,
Oh, that
and
hurts.
it does hurt. But this
Oh
one,
man.
this one,
This one's
more than
different.
this one is different. He looks different. It just feels different. He's already done things that we haven't seen a Bears quarterback be able to do, and we trust that it is a good indication of things to come. And I am going to say that we will get that confirmation even more this Sunday when Caleb Williams leads the Bears to a victory in his first NFL start. The Bears Caleb Williams era gets off with a W, my friend.
Spoiler alert. The the biggest difference. Well, okay, so actually, before I say that, I just read an article this morning in The Athletic about Caleb by Fishbane and Johns, I think. Maybe it was Greenberg. I think it was Johns. Anyway, they were talking to all the teammates over the weeks of camp. It was like a big, long, full feature on Caleb. And the word that they kept latching onto, because the teammates kept saying was, he's different, he's different, he's different. So it's funny that we even used that right off the bat here, because that's what the Bears were saying about Caleb.
Mm,
And
mm-hmm,
we are well aware of our tendency to, overhype the new guy as fans. That's basically what fanning is. Like, if we
mm-hmm.
can't be excited now, what's the point of following this much? But what really is cool is how they're fanboys almost, it seems like
Yeah.
sometimes. Like the player's like, yeah, he did a thing the other day. It's just different, man. It's like, I think the biggest difference, though, back to that thought, since you brought it up, is all the mental stuff.
Hmm.
I've said for a while now that the most important part of the quarterbacking is between the ears, and that's what we never seem to quite be able to develop in our young quarterbacks. I don't want to say they're dumb. I'm just saying they're not fast football processors.
That's what
Okay,
it
they
looked
might be
like. Yep.
intelligent in 100 other ways.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb seems to be a quick learner. He seems to be embracing all the things that go with being a leader. That's another big difference. And I don't know about the time to throw stuff. I think the stat needs way more context because if it's to roll out to buy more time to throw, it still counts as a higher number. To
Hmm.
me, that's different than a time to throw. You could panic on a clean pocket and run, and it'd be a bad play, but your time to throw would be low. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like a lot of people bring that up. I'm like, I think you gotta watch the games for more of that. Though it can, after a big enough sample, be telling. I just see too much that I like in terms of how he conducts himself and how he seems to talk about the game and understand the game. Even his press conferences are miles ahead.
Yeah. Right.
It's not just, oh, it's the new guy. It's like, listen to him. He's like, oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember playing Devondre Sweat. Yeah, that was the game against Oklahoma. And I did the horns down thing after I did this. He's got like, it's the Sean McVay, like, oh, yeah, back in 2018 and 3rd and 5 on the 20. This is the play we called. And he lists like 17 things. And you're like,
Dang.
that's why this works for you. And I'm like,
Right.
Caleb seems to have some of that. I just find that as exciting as the off-platform stuff because that's what the league's built on. And that's what we never quite get around to having.
Yep. Yep. And that's what it looked like at first that, oh, maybe Justin's got more of that than Trubisky. And then that kind of went away. And you're like, maybe not. So, yeah,
Throw the
like you
ball.
said,
That Justin's problem was throw the ball.
yeah, yeah.
Like that's it in a
He
nutshell.
he
Caleb, I don't
wanted to
think will have
keep
that
it.
problem.
He wanted to hold it.
So I don't know. I mean, he may start out with some rookie growing pains. People point that
Yeah.
out like it's some novel thought. Be like, hey, don't forget, he's a rookie. Oh, okay, forgot completely.
Well,
But
is it?
rookie QBs are succeeding more in the last 7 or 8 years than they ever have.
But is this because it's our fan base, though?
I
You
do
know,
wonder that.
because our fan base is, if there's anyone in the league that's going to do this, it's going to be like, I don't know, this Caleb Williams guy, he doesn't look as good as advertised. Tyson Bagent won 2 games when playing for
Yeah,
Justin last year. That our team fan base will do that. If anyone
yeah.
does, it will
Well,
be
I
us.
think this would be fun for us if it was also North fan bases that are like, oh, they might finally have it.
Hmm.
And so they're doing like the opposite of me and you and others that we're friends with who are like excited. They're like, let's tear them down any way possible. Please don't let the Bears finally have a QB. I don't think the world is ready for the Bears having a QB.
I don't know if I'm
It's going to
ready.
go crazy.
Yes.
I shared it in the group, and I think it's worth pointing out just because it's kind of cool too. And I don't want to make a huge point about it, but like, man, they put Caleb Williams on the promo for the season. The NFL's official Twitter account put him in the little artwork thing right next to Mahomes and Allen in that little row, which is the
Ah.
row that has the biggest visual impact on the like in the art. And then it's like other
Yeah.
players as they head towards like the stadium. It's all stars, and Caleb is right there by the two best quarterbacks. Well, consensus, one's no doubt, and then debated maybe the other one. But still, it's like
Hmm.
the NFL is like, yeah, we're gonna pump this up.
Yeah, one of his biggest fans so far is Rich Eisen too. Have you watched any
Hmm.
of it? Man, he loves Eisen's a Jets fan, I think, but man, when he talks Bears, he gets excited talking about Caleb, and that gets me excited. Like, okay, it's not a local homer guy,
Yes,
it's a national guy who's pretty well respected and seems to know what he's talking about. So, okay, deep breaths, Bears,
I
Bears.
just said yes like that, and my 1-year-old dog is like scratching her ear, and she's so used to like firm yes, firm no, whatever. That I did it. She's like, "Oh, is it good that I'm scratching my ear?" It was really funny looking. So Tom Pelissaro had a tweet too this week while we're on the national stuff with
Hmm.
Caleb. And it was like he was putting together his top 5 QB rank thing. I guess he does do this every year. I don't know. Whatever.
Not
Pretty sure
sure.
it's Tom Pelissaro. And his like one name that keeps coming up, even though he's not gonna like rank in the official article that high yet. He's like, he's already coming up as top 5 at the end of the year is the exercise. And he's like, several people are saying Caleb Williams.
Oh.
Not enough for him to actually get in the ranking yet, but all that adds up, the little art piece from the NFL Twitter account. And it's like national people who do not have attachment to the Bears are excited about his career. Why? Because they recognize the special traits.
Yeah.
So, guys, have fun with it. Okay, more on this week in a bit. One other thing while we're on the quarterbacks and the national stuff, let's talk about last night real quick and then we'll do the
Yes.
meatball moments.
Sure.
My version of the hot take this week is something like the way Lamar Jackson plays football will never win a Super Bowl in this era. If he does, it's because the era changed.
100% agree.
so productive last night, and it never felt like they were going to come back. Like his
Mm-hmm.
cumulative rushing plus passing yards is perfectly productive. And he made some nice plays, some good plays. He did some things in the
Yes.
fourth quarter, but he is the ceiling of what you ever could have thought for Fields, that play style.
Yeah.
The biggest difference is Lamar's not a potato in the fourth quarter. Okay. But it never felt like he was actually going to lead him back. He was real close. And why did he not lead him back? At the end of the day, he missed too many throws.
Yeah.
It's still, and it's the Ravens passing game too. It's not all him. He's a tremendous player. He's a two-time MVP. I think he's a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. But I think he might be one of those Hall of Famers where it's like, this guy was so fun to watch,
Mm,
but he never won a ring. And it just gets me thinking, like, yeah, because this fundamentally doesn't beat either other good QBs who are in a better passing offense
yep.
or great playoff level defenses.
Yeah.
And
One.
I hate it for him because I think it's fun when more people have a championship. You know what I mean? Like, let's get some fresh blood in there.
Yeah.
But it's just to me, it's always going to be the problem is when push comes to shove, it's erratic in the passing game for this version of the Ravens. And maybe it gets better, but they could dominate the rest of the regular season, go into the playoffs 16-1, and I'm still going to be like, nah, Chiefs are going to beat them.
Yep.
Right? I mean, they probably peaked last year, and I don't think their line looks like it's good enough to do what they want to do.
No.
But
Yeah.
then, Chris
The
Jones
Chiefs.
is an
Yeah. I was
absolute
just saying the
monster.
Chiefs defense is pretty
But what about
good.
the rest of them? Who can you even name them?
No.
But can you name the rest of that D line? I mean, they're not like established like Chris Jones, of course, who might be D player of the year for all we know.
Mm-hmm.
And the secondary and the linebackers are definitely good too. So I'm not saying that's not a good defense. I'm just saying like the Ravens are really dependent on the O line because they have only one or two real weapons for the passing game, and they still got pushed around a lot. I just feel like
Yeah.
that whole thing, this version of them might have peaked last year.
And that big
One
play,
week, it's only 1 week, but
I forget who caught that fourth quarter down the field pass that got him to the 10. Number 7, I think, on
Bateman, I think.
Bateman. Thank you. Yeah.
I think it was
Right.
Rashad Bateman. It was right when I was joking that Patrick Mahomes had as many receptions as the non-Zay
Yeah,
Flowers
that was a
Ravens
good
receivers,
one.
and then they finally hit one of the other ones.
But right before that play, and I like to, dog Chris Collinsworth, but he had just said that Chris Jones was off the field. He had just said that, and then Lamar had enough time to find Bateman downfield to get them
Yep.
within striking distance.
And it's not that I'm not even trying to criticize Lamar. I'm partly kind of just looking at like, well, how does this offense beat good defenses?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see it.
Yeah,
Not with the kind of level you have to win three playoff games to get to a Super Bowl or win one, depending on their
no.
buys, obviously. And then I'm like, and Lamar's career is probably going to be defined by his unbelievable individual brilliance and being just an absolute joy to watch because there's no one quite like him.
Mm-hmm.
And then going, oh man, you never won a ring. I don't
Yeah,
want that, but I just like he missed those two throws in the end zone. Like that killed me.
yeah, a little more of a rope
The one to
to.
Flowers, he's wide
Oh my
open in the
gosh,
middle. That's not even a tough throw.
yeah, that was egregious. Oh man, and the one before that were likely it looked like he got hurt, but I guess he was okay. But if that had a little more of a rope to it, that's 6 right there too.
Yeah, it's a way harder throw, but you're still
Yeah,
supposed to make it if you're a top tier NFL quarterback.
right. And the one to
So,
Flowers, yeah, that's the one. Oh man, you gotta connect with that one. And
and
they
I
were
think
gonna
the
go for
thought we all
2.
had, and yeah, which is the right move. Don't even give Mahomes the chance.
Yeah,
I would totally approve of that. And on the road against that guy, if you can just beat him at the buzzer, do it.
yeah,
Try it. I would totally agree with the
absolutely.
logic. But the
Yeah.
point I want to make real quick before we do the meatball moment is cycling back to the Bears. This is just watching that game, the thought I kept having, and I don't like that. I mean, I've already made fun of the whole fourth quarter thing. I really hope Justin is good for Pittsburgh. I like Justin. I'm glad we
Potato
moved on from
Justin.
Justin because I think we just saw last night that the peak stylized thing is like not still going to beat the good teams
Yep.
with the good defenses or QBs.
Mm-hmm.
And like Lamar's like the peak of that.
Yep.
So I'm happy to have moved on, and I hope it looks like he's got a chance to get back into that starting gig with Wilson complaining of a calf injury still. So that'll be
Yeah.
interesting to follow.
That would
Okay, meatball moment.
one if I can add one thing to that real quick. If you go to the other
Yeah,
side of the
sure.
field of last night, look on the other side of the field with Mahomes, and if that's the guy that you're comparing Caleb Williams to, that's the guy that you want. That's the trajectory you want to be a contender every year. So I thought that was a good representation of how good Justin could be versus how good Caleb could be, and I'll take the
Yeah, true.
Caleb, every time. So anyway,
It's
sorry, go
just
ahead.
proven over a long haul to
Yeah,
be that the passing offense is line play and passing offense is Super Bowl.
yep,
That's the
that's
formula.
right. Yep.
Okay, meatball moment. The meatball moment.
This is for me. It's gonna seem like I'm just copying you from last week, but I love
I'm
Ryan
okay with that.
Poles. How do you not love Ryan Poles, especially after this last
Yeah, he doubled
Hard
down on
Knocks?
my meatball moment. Poles did it, not you.
Yeah, but that was to me like I love my GM watching him. Oh, I
Yeah.
hope he's with the
Let me
Bears
let me be
forever.
a real and vulnerable as a human being on this the worst day in the NFL calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just like, yeah, just like last episode ended, you can just see he's a player's GM and they love
Yeah.
him.
Mm-hmm.
Like if the Lions Hard Knocks was the oh man, Dan Campbell, what a dude. Like forget all the funny dumb things he says. What a guy. Like these guys love him for good reason. For him, this was that for Poles. I don't know if it
Yeah.
was that for Flus, but it definitely was
I
that for the GM.
I don't think so. Yeah, I
Pretty
think
fascinating.
I think Hard Knocks showed that the Bears really it's Poles' team. It's not Fluce's team. And I don't know if that's a bad thing for the GM to really be the guy, the face of the team,
Yeah.
for someone that's not on the field. But yeah, I definitely think it
I
is Ryan
think
Poles'
in
team.
this case it's good. You could very easily normally not like it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like some other GM might be, power hungry, tyrannical, just my way or the highway, real bad vibes kind of stuff. But this guy, I'll take him being in charge. Also, he was so involved in hiring the coordinators. That's fairly unusual.
Hmm.
This is his show. And
Yep.
I wonder what that looks like if the season is a disappointment. But let's hope we don't get to that point.
Maybe Fluce is okay with that. Maybe the reason they can work well together is he doesn't want to be the face of the team, and he's okay with the GM being that guy. So that's all I was going to say.
True. I mean, Flus seems like a good guy as well, for whatever it's worth. I'm not sure if he's a good coach on game day yet, but
Right, right, right.
so my meatball moment. Right. Yeah. I it's low hanging fruit. It's like such an obvious pick, but how could you not get like excited watching the absolutely brilliant montage of Williams throws in practice that they
Oh,
spliced together in that final episode? I was like,
yes.
oh, that was cool. And then the way they end it with him putting his helmet on and stuff, like that was
Mm,
meatball moment for
good
me. Very
call.
simple. We
Yes.
don't have to really break it down,
I
but that
like
was
it.
good stuff.
Beautiful. I love
It
it.
was neat. All right. Well, we have an opponent to talk about.
Yay!
The Bears. My local team, the Tennessee
Right.
Titans.
True. Hmm.
And you would think being down here, I'd have a better feel for this team, but I really have no idea what to think of them. I think you can say that there is maybe not another team that had more turnover in the roster and the coaching staff, especially when you add them together, than Tennessee. Like they have, everybody thought they were just gonna like full on rebuild, but they kind of tried this like rebuild on the fly. They brought in L'Jarius Sneed and Calvin Ridley. That's not a we're punting for the number one pick kind of a move.
Yeah.
This is not the Bears of 2 years ago. They still want to win some, but I don't know how it'll come together. Like people here are kind of like, we really don't know. Like if you try to like
Interesting.
ask, oh, how do you think Titans are gonna? They're like, I have no idea. Like I'm kind of with them.
Hmm.
What's Will Levis? Probably the biggest question.
Yeah, that's the big one. Yep. Is he
So
for real?
I think when I looked at this game coming into the season, it seemed like an easy win. And then this week it was starting to be like, oh man, I don't know. I'm having my doubts. What about Jeffrey Simmons and Devondre Sweat up the middle against our weakness on the roster, the interior O line? Like, what's that going to do? And are we going to be able to block that up or not? And I was kind of like doing the Bears fan thing. Week
Right.
one Bears PTSD, rookie Bears
Yes.
QB PTSD. And
Right.
then I realized that's all stupid. None of that is the context of the current roster.
Hmm.
And I'm so tired of hearing about how number one picks never win their first start. Well, they don't always go to teams that won 7 games the last year either. Of
Yeah.
course, they didn't win their first start. They're on a 3-win team.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
irrelevant.
Good context, and they've built around him. They've really dropped him in a nice nest. I know that term's been
Yes,
used
they
before, but it
have.
really is a great analogy.
They're good. On paper, the Bears are good. They're
Hmm.
not perfect. They're not winning the Super Bowl, but they are good.
Hmm.
They're not the trash we've had on paper on the roster the last couple of years.
That's right.
Okay? Can we just agree with this?
I agree. I
And the
sign off on
Titans
that.
are like kind of hard to figure out, but coming to Chicago,
Hmm.
Will Levis is starting his ninth game,
Hmm.
I think. So he's like in between a rookie and a second year player. You know what I mean? He's not even at the end of his rookie year by the number of starts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know what he is beyond hilarious. He's all the Josh Allen's chaos without as much of the like outrageous ability. Well, maybe he'll develop into it, but like he'll do the stuff where you're like, how in the world did he think that was a good idea? Like he could be good or he could be just comically bad Sunday.
Mm.
He is like all things are on the table. That the table that Flus was looking for last year when Fields was hurt, that table.
Yes.
And then they have a new coach. So, like, what are they going to run? Okay,
Yep.
you're going to go look at the Bengals tape to figure out what they're going to run. So, this game's going to be, and I hate this, Chris. I'm so disappointed in myself. I do not want to put a governor on Caleb Williams, but man, if there was ever a game where you should be able to be like, okay, defense, you think you're really good. We think you're really good. We are in year 3 of the defense. Every other unit in this game is in year 1 together with the
Hmm.
coaching. This is the game they better win you. If they
Yeah.
give up more than a couple scores or TDs anyway, it means they stunk. And I'm not saying, okay, punt return's different or
Uh-huh.
God
Yeah.
forbid, a pick six. I'm saying the defense gave up the points.
Yeah.
It would be very disappointing.
I agree.
And
Yep.
they should lock this thing up for you. And then you can just lean on the outside zone. That takes away Jeffrey Simmons mostly. And then play action and bootleg off of that. You don't think you can block their interior. Don't leave your quarterback sitting there very
Hmm.
often in third and long situations. Caleb's might be already top couple on the run throwing the football in this league. Just do some of that and run the
Yep.
ball a lot. And that's only because I don't know that much about the opponent otherwise. And I know
Hmm.
my defense should be able to shut down Will Levis and the rest of those misfit toys.
Right.
Till they prove otherwise, I think you got to wonder how the Titans thing comes together.
And we find out DeAndre Hopkins has a torn MCL.
But he's
Like,
playing what?
but
Okay, so he's playing not that well
how can he
or
play
not
on a
playing.
torn MCL? That's
Yeah, he's either not playing or he's not going to be nearly the Hopkins he's been.
yeah. If there's
And then he's got Jalen Johnson against him.
yeah, that's yeah.
Defense will have no excuse
None. Agreed.
in terms of like full drives.
Yep. And the current line right now is 3.5.
Yeah,
I
it came
wish
down.
yeah, I wish it were a little higher, but yeah. Yeah, it was 4.5. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what changed. I would think Hopkins having a torn MCL would push it the other way, but yeah, who knows? Who knows what Vegas knows?
Who knows? Yeah, I just don't. I don't know if they're just. I mean, it's really just following where the money's going. I wonder if there's a lot of people doing the bad logic with first start stuff for Caleb.
Could be.
He also doesn't seem like the type to be that intimidated by the moment.
Yeah, and someone on the score, I don't know if you heard this, made the comparison to the 2016 Cubs and how the Cubs that year didn't seem to carry the weight of the 108 years and the curse and all that. They just kind of went out and played and did their thing. And you hope that the Bears are just like that and can do the same thing and won't have the, oh my gosh, we haven't had a good quarterback since Sid
Hmm.
Luckman and,
The
oh,
players, man,
almost.
they're not doing that. They are
Yeah,
not doing
so
that.
yeah, maybe it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't care. Maybe they're young enough and not spent a lot of time here yet that it hasn't like grown into their systems yet and colored their perspective and all of that.
As
So
Perkins is always saying, jerseys aren't cursed.
yeah.
Nonsense.
Hmm.
And I think it's easy to lapse back. Like I said earlier in the week, I was kind of doing this, and I was like, what am I doing? Why? They're not that good. We are better on paper. Here's why. And I had to like rein in my Bears angst.
Yep.
And I know Sunday, it's going to happen. I'm going to do this probably tomorrow and probably Sunday.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm pretty desperate for this to be a win because I don't want to start 0-1 and then head to the Texans next week.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I want to shut everybody up about Caleb,
Hmm.
including Bill Belichick, who apparently doesn't understand the role receivers and defenders play in incomplete passes. This is a really interesting development for a Hall of Fame head coach to not quite understand that if Caleb has a 50% completion percentage, but at least four of those are drops or a good throw that a defender made a good play on, he doesn't really have a 50% completion percentage. Do you see that take? He said
I
Caleb
did
did not
not.
impress him. He only completed 50% of his passes. And I'm like, I'm just going to say it. I don't care, coach, former player, any of it. I don't care about your opinion if you're not going to put in the work to watch the film.
Yeah.
Because there's no way the Bill Belichick that we saw for 20 years coaching would watch the film and make that statement.
Mm. Was this in the same context he showed that Walter Payton clip from college?
No, that was super fun.
Yeah, come on, Bill, be consistent.
So it's like to cite completion percentage in the preseason is a reason to not believe he's ready without realizing that there were some drops, which changed this percentage dramatically because there's only 20 throws.
Yeah,
It's all nonsense, man.
and
It's all
receivers
nonsense.
stepping
Bill,
out of
be
bounds in
better,
the end
buddy.
zone. Yeah, Odunze should have had a touchdown. That would have upped the percentage a little bit too. But yeah,
Put
hmm.
in the work, and I'll totally respect your opinion, but that take felt like he hadn't put in the work to me.
Oh,
So
Bill.
I'm desperate for all this stuff to be shut up by a Bears win.
Yeah,
But I do want to note if they lose, and even if they're 0-2, this is not a nuclear scenario.
that's
They
right.
they could still have a solid year, or you got to remember we're still building to the future. The
Yep.
rebuild, I think, got a jump start by what might go down as the most lopsided trade ever, including more than the Herschel Walker trade.
Yeah.
But I think it kind of got jump started by a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that means if we don't start out like we want, we might want to keep that in mind because we still haven't finished the trenches, whatever anyone is optimistic about on the season. I think we all know, like, yeah, those are still the concerns.
Yep.
They're like
Both
half
sides.
done, you know what I mean, on both
Yep.
sides
Yeah.
of the ball.
I agree. Hey, besides Caleb, who's a new bear that you're looking forward to seeing Sunday?
Rome is such an obvious answer here, too.
Uh-huh.
He's great, man. Every time I hear him do an interview or see him in a promo thing, it's just like he's so fun and well spoken. They got two rookies who actually know what they're doing with the media already, which is kind of
Mm-hmm.
wild. What a good dude. So I want to see him, obviously. It was cool seeing him working with Jalen. And like the rookie was helping the corner with moves. I'm like, he's that good? His route running's that good? He's supposed to be a jump ball guy that until he gets more polished. He's already polished. Okay.
Maybe.
And my other
Maybe.
answer is the most Bears fan thing ever. I will harken back to the glorious days of Brad Maynard, MVP of the Bears, and say, I kind of want to see what Torrey Taylor looks like when the game counts. I
Fourth
think
down,
it could be kind of
yes.
fun to watch a guy just kill him with punts inside the 5 in the right scenarios. I'll be really mad if it's like 4th and 1. But you get a bad holding on and you get set back and it's 4th and too long to go for it at
Uh-huh.
midfield and he's punting. Yeah, give me the coffin corner kick and let's see what that defense does. Come
Nice.
on, the meatball in you has to at least be a little bit like curious if he can replicate his ability to do
Yeah.
that from college.
Yeah, if he's gonna punt 60 yards every time, I'll be okay with that.
Give me a safety, put him up, Chris. Where's Damon when we need
Nah,
him?
nah, nah. Yeah. Get him up! Get him up! Yeah. Ah, good old Damana.
All right,
Well,
so I
for me,
know who
it's
you got.
I was gonna
Okay,
say
go. No, go ahead.
for me
Yeah,
Swift. I'm anxious to see how Swift looks.
very good answer. And I think that was the thing they refused to tell us anything about in the
Mm-hmm.
preseason. I think they're
Yeah.
going to run like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I hate it because I feel like I'm like governing Caleb's ability. But like, if you're really worried about their D tackles and you're an outside zone scheme,
Mm-hmm.
lean into that with your
Yep.
at least dual threat running game
Yep.
and
Yep.
build
And
off of that. And just then
build
they
off
don't get
that.
to impact the game that much.
Yep. Build some play action off of that. Absolutely.
And I think
But
they will because they barely played of all the starters. Swift is the one we saw the least of in the preseason, and he was totally healthy, never
yep.
on an injury report or rumored to be hurt or anything.
Mm-hmm.
They're saving something there, and I bet we see a lot of him.
Yep. That's my guy that I'm
All
curious.
right,
Yep.
who you got? What's your score? And let's get on out of here.
All right. Well, like I said in my hot take, I think the Bears win this game.
The Bears.
I think Caleb has some brilliant moments, but he's going to make a mistake or two. Not enough to lose the game. I'm gonna go Bears 24, Titans 17.
The Bears.
Okay. And by the way, if it doesn't look great right away for Caleb, again, it's not the end of the world. First
Right.
month of the season, right? We survived barely. Justin Fields in the first month last year, which actually involved 3 defensive touchdowns, right? Like, we can have the lowest bar in the world as Bears fans, but
Hmm.
let's not freak out if he throws a pick or two.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got the Bears 24-13. What was your score
Ooh,
again?
I said 24-17. I like your score better.
Okay.
Your score is indicative of the defense doing what they should.
Bears.
Unless the defense falls apart, isn't this the exact kind of team they were clobbering last year down the
Yeah.
stretch?
Yeah.
Not an
Hmm.
elite quarterback yet. I mean, they crushed those teams with the defense.
Hmm.
All right, we got 3 other games to pick because we always do the division
Okay.
rapid fire. Green Bay tonight. Green Bay at Philly. Philly by 2.5.
I think Philly was just
What
such
a
a
weird game with the whole Brazil thing. I
yeah
feel like
in
this is
Brazil.
next to impossible to predict.
I think the way Philly ended last year, I think they're still going to be in disarray, and unfortunately, Green Bay wins tonight in Brazil.
That's a really reasonable pick. And just to be different, I'll say they somehow rally from it and win anyway,
Oh, I hope
even
you're
though I
right.
don't really have any logic behind that.
Go Pack, go the home.
Then we have, oh my gosh, this game. I didn't even realize this was the matchup. The game no one's watching outside of these two cities. The Vikings at the Giants. Gross.
Ooh, Sam
I'll tell you
Darnold.
what, the loser is anyone who has to sit through 3 hours of that.
Yeah, I think
God,
Vikings
the
fans are the
matchup's
losers there.
brutally boring.
No. Where is it?
I mean, I guess you get Malik Neighbors and Justin Jefferson, but that's about it. It's
But
in New
who's
York, so I'm just going to be boring and pick the Giants, even though I think both these teams are pretty bad.
you got those receivers, but who's throwing them the
Daniel
ball?
Jones wins his first game of the year.
I'll take it. I mean,
Daniel
I
Jones.
guess
I don't know. Maybe I don't pick them.
I'd like to see the Vikings lose week 1. That's cool. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
so that's
Go
kind of all I
Giants.
did. I'm just going to pick against the whole division here. That's my logic. And you call me the smart one. All
You
right.
are the smart.
Rams at the
Nobody
Lions. Lions
nobody listening doubts
Sunday
that.
night. Lions by 3.5.
Yeah, that sounds it's true. It's true. That sounds about right to me. The Lions, I think they're probably the best team in the NFC this year. Just if
They're
they can
definitely in the
build on
running.
what they did last year, yeah. But I do think Detroit gives a nice welcome home reception to Matthew Stafford.
We're gonna kick you in the teeth.
I think this is a fun matchup. I think both these offense could really get going at any game this year. They could just drop 40 on you if they're all healthy and everything,
Mhm.
which is a much bigger concern for the Rams.
Hmm.
My problem with picking the Rams in this game is I need to see what the defense looks like without like the best defensive player of the last decade.
True.
Mr. Donald
Yep.
retired. So I
Hmm.
feel like that you're gonna have to kind of show me that the defense works well enough to complement your already pretty good offense. I think they're a wild card contender,
Yeah.
but I don't think they go into Detroit and win this. All kidding aside about picking against the division every game, I think the Lions win this.
Same.
I don't think I'd touch that spread though, if I were inclined.
Mm.
I'd leave that one alone.
See what Buddy Bryant would say about that.
Biggest over under I think of the day is that game. Yep, 51. So Vegas thinks we're going to get some points here.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got, good sir.
All right. Yeah. It's here we go. Here we go. The season is upon us. Thanks everyone for listening to this
Time out,
episode.
I forgot something.
Oh.
We still have to hate pick the Panthers games because we still have one more high pick of theirs.
Okay.
Carolina at New Orleans, Saints by 4. I think both these teams stink too. This might be as bad as the Giants Vikings.
Yeah. I gotta.
Of course,
see.
I'm picking the Saints. I can't pick Carolina to win on the road yet.
Yeah.
I got a lot to
same.
prove before I'm doing that.
Yeah, exactly the same thinking for me. It's like Carolina has to do it first before I will pick them to do it. Kind of like the Bears beating the Packers. I got to see it first.
Yep, I was just going to say that. Yep.
Yep.
All right, now take us away on
All
that
right.
depressing note.
Back to. All right. Thank you for listening to this episode of Barely Educated. Find us on our website, Barely Educated. No, what's our website? Buymeacoffee.com/barely underscore
Mid-season form.
educated. Mid-season form, yeah.
You suck, Chris.
Join our honor roll. We'll
Just
send you
look
a
it up on
t-shirt.
Twitter and find the links.
Exactly. And by the way, our Twitter is at barely underscore educated. That's also our Instagram, which I don't know if we've ever done anything with, and Threads, which I occasionally remember to do something with. And also Facebook,
We have a Threads?
Facebook.com. We have a Threads, yeah. I think it was automatically created by Instagram, but Facebook.com/barely educated. Interact with us. We'd love to chat with you. Also, if you don't mind, give a rating and some feedback on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you're hearing this, so more Bears fans can access this amazing content, my friends. We will talk to you after the Bears-Titans game. Have a good weekend. Bear down.
Potato in the fourth quarter. Okay.
I found a potato.
Potatoes.
Okie dokie, Dr. Joe's home here, potatoes.
Will you shut up, man?
You are indeed a dip from Chicago.
I love the Bears.